when Russia attacks America, that's when the rapture takes place. As 150 million Americans get killed, the Christians among the dying will be caught up and will be escorted by the angels, the gathering angels of Matthew 24:30. And they'll be gathered and escorted to heaven. Now that should be about 2/3 of the 150 million. So we're talking 100 million souls going to heaven at the same time. Why do I say the rapture occurs, will coincide with Russian attack on America? Because in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 3, it says sudden destruction will occur side by side with the rapture in chapter 4 verse 16 through 18. And what is this sudden destruction? Well, in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 3, it says the rapture cannot come except the revealing of the Son of Destruction take place. Now, Son of Destruction means the destroyer. So the destroyer is revealed at the rapture, which means the destruction that he authorizes as the head of a government. He authorizes military attack. And this destruction, this wartime destruction, will be the sudden destruction in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 3. This is confirmed in Revelation 13:7, where it says this. It gives a new title for this man, the Son of Destruction or Destroyer. It calls him the Beast. It says the Beast will make war on the saints, which means the Christians, which means the countries predominantly Christian will be attacked. And since we live in the time of weapons of mass destruction, that's what's going on when it says war. He will launch weapons of mass destruction against the Christian countries, primarily America. And what is the purpose of this destruction? Well, in the same verse, Revelation 13:7, it says that this beast will overcome the Christians, and he will gain power over every nation. In other words, the purpose of this war is conquering the world, taking over the world. So now we know the rapture, which occurs at the time of sudden destruction, occurs at the time of world war, and which is synonymous with nuclear war. Now, which nation could be the nation that the beast rules and uses in order to take over the world? It cannot be a non-superpower, because if a non-superpower nation tried to take over the world by making war against the Christian countries, America as a superpower could crush that nation. Now there are two superpowers, America and Russia. Only a superpower could be expected to accomplish this feat of taking over the world through warfare. Now America is not going to do it, so that leaves the other superpower as the obvious candidate for this role, and it would be Russia, of course. And what biblical confirmation is there for this claim that Russia, oh my fucking God, what biblical confirmation is there for my claim that Russia will launch war against America and other Christian countries? Well, this term, the beast, originates back in Daniel chapter 7. There are 4 beasts which refer to 4 empires, and what they have in common is that each one of them rules over Israel in succession. The first one rules, and then it is succeeded by the second, which rules over Israel, and then the third succeeds the second and rules over Israel, then the fourth rules over Israel. Now the 4th empire is called the 4th beast, and that's the beast. That's the same beast that's in Revelation 13:7. The idea is that the 4th beast, comes a second time, and the Roman Empire basically is Europe, and primarily is Europe, and so the nations that get conquered are the nations of Western Europe that used to be Roman, and the return of the Roman Empire is simply talking about Europe returning to one-man rule. The ruler of Russia will rule over Europe, and he will be called the beast. And the term beast applies to the empire, but it also applies to the ruler of the empire. Now, I said Daniel 7, verse 8. Let me quote from that. It says, there are 10 horns which refer to 10 nations. Actually, it says refer to 10 kings, but kings rule nations. So not only do the 10 horns mean 10 kings, they mean 10 nations. And then it says another horn comes up among the 10 horns of Western Europe and conquers them. Now, this is a horn from outside of Western Europe, and the only nation near Western Europe that could accomplish that feat of invading and conquering 10 nations at the same time would have to be Russia. No other nation could do that. It's not China, because China is not close enough. So there we have it. Russia is going to invade Europe, and at the same time they will launch a preemptive strike against America. Now, how can Russia escape our retaliatory strike? Why would not Russia be destroyed at the same time that they destroy the big cities of America? Russia would not attack us if we could destroy Russia with our nuclear arsenal. And the only way Russia would attack us is if they can get us to disarm. Now, how could we be expected to disarm during the Cold War? There's no way we would do that. The only way Russia could get us to disarm would be to end the Cold War and give up their empire in Eastern Europe, and actually let the Soviet Union split up and let the non-Russian republics become free. That would convince America that Russia had given up its predatory ambitions as far as conquering the world. That's what Russia did back in the late 1980s, 88, 89, and 1990. They ended the Cold War and went through all these, jumped through all these hoops in order to trick us into disarming. And we believed the lie that Russia had changed. Now the Bible says they will believe a lie and they will perish. And that's in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 9 through 12. And the lie was that Russia had changed for the better. And so we disarmed because we felt we did not need the arsenal, the nuclear arsenal that we had. At this point, it's been 30 years of steady disarmament for America. And now, finally, we've disarmed so much that Russia is convinced that they can bomb us without being destroyed in return, because our nuclear arsenal has been reduced by 2/3. The submarines at sea have been reduced by 2/3, and Russia can destroy the missiles that would be fired from the 8 submarines we have at sea. And so we can expect Russian attack this year. And that means the rapture should come this year, because the rapture occurs at the same time as Russian attack. For more information, email me or to leave a comment. And it's joegrace@gmail.com, JOEGRACE @gmail.com. Now, why don't preachers and evangelists talk about the rapture the way I am? They're giving you a sugar-coated version of the rapture, where God blows a trumpet and all the Christians leave the world magically. Now, this is a childish storybook version of the rapture. Paul the Apostle said, when I was a child, I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I gave up childish things. It's time for us to give up a childish version of the rapture and open our eyes to the reality of what's going on at the time of the rapture. The rapture will be a matter of Christians dying when Russia launches the war, makes war on the saints. That's what Revelation 13:7 says. There are 3 words that are key to understanding end-time Bible prophecy. Russia, Russia, Russia. Actually, there are 5 words that help us understand end-time Bible prophecy. Russia, 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 and so on. My explanation of the rapture means that it will be different from what people think. It won't be all the Christians leaving the world together. Not all Christians will go up at the rapture. Only the Christians that get killed will depart the world. Now, what biblical precedent do we have for this? Paul the Apostle was stoned to death in Acts 14, verse 19. Now, at that time, his soul left his body and was caught up to the third heaven. That's what 2 Corinthians 12, verse 2 through 4 says. Paul says, I knew a man who was caught up to the third heaven. Now he's talking about himself, but he's trying to be modest. So instead of boasting and saying, I was caught up to the third heaven, he puts it in the third person. I knew a man who was caught up. Anyway, the point is that his rapture was at the time of his death. D-E-A-T-H. That's what it takes to be raptured. So the rapture in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, 16 through 18, where a great multitude of souls will be raptured, that's talking about mass death occurring when WMD are employed, weapons of mass destruction. This means the rapture will be limited to Americans that get killed, Europeans that get bombed when Russia takes over Europe, and also our military bases around the world will get bombed, and Christians there will be caught up. And so I'm talking about Okinawa in Japan. We have a big military base there. And so that will fulfill Christ's words about the rapture occurring from one horizon to the opposite horizon. That's in Matthew 24, 29 through 31. But I should explain that Christians in South America will not be raptured because they're not going to get bombed by Russia. Christians in Africa will not be raptured because they're not going to get bombed by Russia. Christians in most countries of Asia will not get raptured because they won't get bombed by Russia. Now, South Korea may get bombed by North Korea, and so the Christians there will get raptured.